Hello and welcome to my 10 tips for playing Domination in Infinite Warfare. I realise this video is a bit late because Infinite Warfare has been out for a year and everything, but I've noticed a lot of new people playing the game and there's a lot of low levels and non-prestige people, so I kinda thought that people who are new to the game this might help. But essentially this video is split up into two halves, the first half being based on going on a streak and the second half having points upon winning an actual match of Domination. So there's 5 points for each and there might be like a bonus tip in there somewhere if I think of one whilst recording. But yeah, we'll start with going on a streak first. So this section is based upon whether you want to go in a de-atomizer strike or you're just going for a high score streak like a RC or something like that. I just want to put a disclaimer here, these tips aren't going to make you amazing at the game. You already have to be good at the game to actually make use of these tips, I guess. But yeah, so this isn't going to make you get a de-atomizer strike instantly upon watching this video obviously, so I just thought I'd put that in there. So the first thing I want to say in class there, but you can use whatever gun you want, whatever gun you feel most comfortable with. I'm not going to recommend any guns, but because all the guns in Infinite Warfare are pretty decent, there's not really any bad guns, so whatever gun you feel most comfortable with, you should really just use. But some things I would recommend to use on your loadout would be a suppressor, because this will keep you off the minimap, and you can just not use a suppressor and choose when you want to be in the minimap, but at the same time I just usually use a suppressor because this is like full stealth. I would also recommend using Ghost and Blind Eye as well as Scavenger, because Scavenger allows you to pick up ammo packs if you're on a streak, so that's really useful for that sort of thing, and it's really crucial for you just going in a streak, I guess. Blind Eye keeps you from dying from like score streaks like wardens and stuff, and you might think, okay, well if I'm going on a score streak or if I'm going like a high streak, the enemies aren't really going to be getting any streaks, but if someone gets a care package and happens to get a warden from it, then you're basically screwed. And also if someone's running Striker with micro turrets, you're also screwed, so you may as well just use Blind Eye. And Ghost, you can kind of argue is pointless in this situation, because if you're going on a high streak and you're using a counter UAV, you can just stick the counter UAV up anytime the enemies put a UAV up. However, chances are you're not going to have a counter UAV if the enemy team are getting 2 UAVs in the time it takes you to get an advanced UAV, so I would say just run Blind Eye and Ghost, but at the same time you can do that at your own discretion. For a score streak setup, I would say if you're going for a de-atomizer or like a nuke or whatever, I would say use an epic advanced UAV, an epic UAV and an epic or a rare counter UAV. The reason for this is because the epic UAV gives you more points per teammate kills whilst your UAV is up, which ultimately helps you get your advanced UAV quicker. The rare counter UAV lasts longer but is less health. The less health thing doesn't really matter because counter UAVs get destroyed in one rocket shot anyway, so it's not really going to matter unless people shoot your counter UAV with their guns, but at the same time who does that? So yeah, and then the epic advanced UAV lasts for less time than a normal advanced UAV, however it updates in real time instead of pulsating like a normal UAV. So yeah, they're all pretty good and I would recommend using that setup for a de-atomizer. If you're going for a high streak like an RC or a Thor or something, I would say use at least one support streak like a UAV or an advanced UAV, and then have your highest streak being the one you want to obtain like the RC or the Thor, and then you should have a warden or just something that'll get you kills and more points as your second streak. You can of course have 2 support streaks like a UAV and an advanced UAV. You can really do whatever you want here, but I just recommend having at least one support streak like a UAV or an advanced UAV. That's probably going to be the longest tip of the video and the rest are going to be pretty short, but they're probably going to be as equally helpful. The second tip is never triple cap if you're going on a streak. The reason for this is because triple capping just messes up the flow of the map. The enemies will start spawning everywhere and they'll be spawning all the secondary spawns on the map, and you don't have to know what a secondary spawn is, but essentially they won't be spawning at any flags and they'll just be spawning everywhere. So it's going to mess up the flow of the map, and no matter how good you are at the game, it's going to get you killed eventually. So what I recommend doing here is never triple cap obviously, but if you're close to an advanced UAV you may as well cap the flag, because if you put up the advanced UAV it's going to counteract not having any flow to the map and the enemy spawning everywhere, because you'll be able to see exactly where they are. The other exception to this I would say would be if you're at the end of the first round, you may as well cap the flag, because it's only going to mess up the flow of the map for a couple of seconds and that's not really going to get you killed. So yeah, that's the only exceptions I would make, and ultimately never triple cap unless you're close to an advanced UAV or you are at the end of the round. The third thing is that what I notice whenever I'm playing Domination is a lot of people will go for de-atomizer strikes with nuke guns, fair enough, right? But the thing is they won't cap at all, they won't play the objective one bit, and they'll end up doing pretty well and getting a pretty good KD, but they won't actually get the de-atomizer or anything. They won't get anywhere close to the de-atomizer, and they'll only get like one advanced UAV the entire time. And the reason for this is because they don't cap flags. What I'm going to say here is you really need to cap flags if you're going to go in any form of streak in Domination, because getting a kill only gives you 75 points instead of 100, as opposed to TDM where it gives you 100. So you really need to cap flags because this gives you more points than getting a kill. So you know, you're better off just capping a flag and ultimately, you know, getting an advanced UV sooner. I've had multiple times where I only went on a 5 kill streak but already got an advanced UV just from capping flags. So just cap flags for playing Domination. It's going to help your team out because it'll win the match, and it's also going to help you out because you'll get points for your score streaks. Obviously, if you're going for a high score streak as well, like an RC8, you should always be capping flags and playing the objective super hard as long as you're good enough at staying alive. But yeah, that's that really. The fourth point would be use wall runs at every available opportunity. What I mean by this is every map in the game, or nearly every map in the game, has some hidden wall runs somewhere, or wall runs people would expect you to run on. So I'll probably put some clips on screen now showing off wall runs on some of the maps from my series that I did, which I'll put on screen now. And it's basically just that video that I'm linking on screen now. It just shows a lot of wall runs from a lot of the maps, from a lot of the base maps in the game. I've got like, I cover like all the DLCs and everything, but not every map in the game. So there's some that I haven't shown which are really good as well. But there's ones in Skydock and Mayday and like Frost and everything, Genesis, which are really useful and they really get to jump on people. And another thing which I didn't actually show in those videos is that, and it's only something I've like started doing recently to be fair, but you should try wall running really high up on wall runs which don't really make any sense to actually run on, because if you run really high up that wall, people would expect you to be there and you'll just get to jump on people. So yeah, and you should really not jump around that much, because it actually makes you an easier target. So yeah, you're much better off just wall running. The fifth tip for this section would be lay off the objective if you're close to your strike. Whether this be a de-atomizer strike or whether this be your RC8 or something, lay off the objective and just play it slow. You know, play it defensively. If you are close to the de-atomizer strike, lay off the objective entirely unless it's unless it's safe to cap a flag. Obviously, capping a flag will get you closer to your like advanced UAV and that sort of thing, so it will help. However, it's not worth risking getting an advanced UAV if you're gonna die from capping a flag. So in that situation, if you're going for a de-atomizer strike, you should really lay off the objective almost entirely if you're getting close to it. However, if you are going for an RC8, obviously, or a high score streak, you should really play the objective a lot harder than anyone who's going for a de-atomizer strike, because it will get you more points towards your streak. So that's the end of that section. However, I do have another tip which applies to both of these sections. Both of the points in this video, both winning a match of Domination and also going on a streak. Your rig setup is really important for going on any form of streak. Obviously, it doesn't matter if you're a really good player, you don't really need your rig or anything like that, but what I usually do when I'm playing Infinite Warfare, I actually main FTLs. That's literally the only rig I use, and I use phase shift and power slide. The reason for this is power slide allows you to ADS while sliding, which is pretty useful, but I don't use it all that much. But phase shift allows you to just it allows you to just nope out of any situation which you don't think you're going to win the gunfight. It's really useful. Active cam also works and rewind also works. However, you can just use whatever one you want. Personally, I would say never use Synaptic because it's a really annoying rig to be against, but it is basically the best rig in the game. So yeah, but rig setup is really useful. I would say for Domination, FTL is really good for it because the likes of phase shift allows you to phase shift onto flags and just clear the flag without the enemies really knowing you're there. And obviously phase shift allows you to nope out a lot of situations, but a lot of rigs allow you to do that, so it's not really exclusive to FTL in that situation, but yeah. Basically, rig setup is really important and you should really consider that whenever you're going for any form of streak. So the next section is winning a match of Domination, and these points are going to be a lot harder than the first section because a lot of them are just, things you might know, but, they help. So the first point is map control. If you play Domination for a long time, you'll know that map control is a big factor in actually running a match. So what I would say here is, at the very start of the match, run straight for B. Don't cap the spawn flag unless there's no one from your team capping the spawn flag. Obviously you need the spawn flag because that's, important, but you should always run straight for B to cap that immediately unless none of your teammates are actually capping the spawn flag. What this will do is this will allow your team to actually push quite far up on the map and push the enemies back in their spawn and stop them from getting too far to their spawn, so it actually really helps in this situation. The second point would be if you cannot get B later in the round or something like that because the enemies are just posted up there and you've got it on lockdown, what I do in this situation is I run for the enemy spawns and just start capping it. The reason for this is because capping their flag will either allow you to actually cap it and pin them into the B and keep them there. This works on maps like Genesis where B is in a building all by itself and there's only 2 entrances to it, and this will just keep them in B and pin them back in there, and they'll win you the match because you get 2 flags and they've only got 1. Or if it's a map which B is kind of out in the open and everything, a lot of the enemies will probably run towards their spawn flag and this will distract them, and then your team will be able to cap the flag. Even if you die in this situation, it will give your teammates an opportunity to cap B because the enemies will be distracted, so it does help in this situation. This works especially well whenever you're partied up with a few friends, because you'll be able to communicate to them that, oh, I'm capping their spawn flag, you should go and cap B, because it'll distract them. The third tip I would say is more focused around class setup yet again, which is use dome shields. Dome shields help so much whenever you're capping flags in Domination, because it puts a barrier between you and any people shooting you. It just creates a shield around you. You've probably seen the gameplay, I use it quite a bit in every single class, even on the nuke classes that I have a dome shield on because it helps so much capping flags. It also is good for blocking off lines of sight if you're running away from an enemy or something, or if an enemy's, trying to, or if you think there's going to be an enemy around the corner, you can just throw a dome shield to block off that line of sight. Dome shields get destroyed in like just under 20 bullets, I would say. So what you need to do is, it's not going to make you invincible or anything when you're capping a flag. So what you can get good at is just boosting just above the dome shield to your head when you're visible, and you can kill an enemy like that, so it makes it really difficult for them to shoot you, but it's pretty easy for you to shoot them. The fourth point would be, if the enemies are especially like objective orientated and they just keep trying to cap B or your spawn flag or something, use a launcher. Like the PLO or the Venom X work really well in this situation, because the PLO you can kind of spam with flags and it's really good at getting like one-shot kills, and the Venom X you can spam with LT and just shoot all three like shells down range and just obliterate people. So I would recommend using launchers if the enemies are especially annoying because they keep capping flags. The last point for this would be, if you're just going to win the match, if you're just trying to win the match and the only thing you care about is the objective, what you should do is just try to triple cap. Because whilst yes, this ultimately messes up the flow of the map, this ultimately will get you killed more often than not, this will allow you to win the game faster because you'll have all three flags. The enemies most likely will be confused about what flag to go for, and there'll be like two enemies going for each flag, which isn't going to work. So yeah, I would say ultimately triple cap if available, if you're just going for the objective, but obviously if you're going for a streak, never triple cap. But that's about it. So this video went on for a wee while, but hopefully I'll be able to trim it down a wee bit. But yeah, like I said at the start of the video, the reason I made this is because whilst Infinite Warfare is a year into its life cycle, and World War II's out and everything, I have noticed a lot of new people playing Infinite Warfare, especially Domination for some reason. So I just kind of thought making this video might help them, and I've obviously got a year of experience playing Domination, and I'm sure a lot of people have that experience as well. But I just thought I would make this video because it'll allow people to get better at the game who are new to the game now. So yeah, I also don't really know why there's an influx of people playing Infinite Warfare, but yeah, that's the thing. But I'm not complaining. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found some of these tips useful, because they're basically everything that I use whenever I'm playing a Domination match. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, maybe subscribing, and I'll see you next one. Bye.
Mission accomplished. Good day's work.